MegaPodTastic.
Good morning, Megapodlings. It's Crazy Joe here, and I think it's time we talk about something that is long overdue, something that should have been talked about, well, over a month ago. It is well over a month since the release of Rise of Skywalker. It's still playing in theaters, not as many now because we're in February, but it's been playing since the week of Christmas. And ever since the movie came out, there have been some people making a claim that is just blatantly false. And I think it's time to talk about it. Now, before we go any further, I should say there's going to be spoilers here for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. If you haven't seen Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker yet, you may want to tune out, come back after you've seen the movie. There's also going to be spoilers for The Last Jedi. But that movie has been out for a couple of years now. You've probably all seen that. But let's get into spoilers. There's a lot of people who don't like The Last Jedi. And that's fine. As I always say on this channel, film is subjective. You like what you like. You don't like what you don't like. It's okay. But there's a lot of people that don't like the movie. And the people who don't like the movie, now I'm sure it's not all of them, but a lot of the people who don't like the movie, I have seen really want that movie discounted. They want to believe the movie, quote unquote, doesn't count. And when Rise of Skywalker came out, I started seeing a lot of people posting that the movie backpedals The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi doesn't count anymore. The movie course corrects The Last Jedi. I've read people say, good news, you can skip The Last Jedi now because Rise of Skywalker totally ignores it. And Rise of Skywalker is not a sequel to The Last Jedi. It undoes The Last Jedi. Well, I'm here to tell you that no matter what your opinion of The Last Jedi is, and you could love it, you could hate it, film is subjective. You could love Rise of Skywalker, you could hate Rise of Skywalker. Again, film is subjective. You're free to like it, you're free to dislike it. But it does not discount The Last Jedi. It does not discount The Last Jedi at all. In fact, Rise of Skywalker cannot exist without The Last Jedi. The movie builds on the events of The Last Jedi to a point where the movie would be nonsensical. It wouldn't make any sense if there was no Last Jedi. So these people who claim that The Last Jedi doesn't count now, or you can skip it and go right to Rise of Skywalker, I'm sorry, that's not true. Let's take a look at these movies. Again, there's going to be spoilers here. In The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker died. Luke Skywalker died in The Last Jedi. And in this movie, his Force Ghost appears. Now, if The Last Jedi doesn't count, and you skip The Last Jedi and just go from Force Awakens right into Rise of Skywalker, how the heck did Luke become a ghost? When we last saw him on the island at the end of Force Awakens, he was alive and well. The movie doesn't backpedal Luke's death. Luke is dead. Luke is a Force ghost. That happened in Last Jedi. It holds true in Rise of Skywalker. In The Last Jedi, Rey and Kylo Ren discovered their psychic link, that they can communicate with each other from these great distances. That wasn't in The Force Awakens. That was introduced in The Last Jedi. That's where we first saw that. Rise of Skywalker not only continues that, it builds on it. Again, this is a plot point directly continued from The Last Jedi. In fact, Rise of Skywalker, if you walked in and hadn't seen The Last Jedi, you're going to be confused. You're going to be like, what the heck? How are they doing this telekinetic force conference here? What? I've never seen this before. And you wouldn't have seen it before because it was introduced in The Last Jedi. I have seen people make claims that the movie has scenes that were quote-unquote J.J. Abrams' way of giving the finger to Rian Johnson. A good example of that is when Rey throws her lightsaber and Luke's ghost catches it and he says, a Jedi should treat their weapon with more respect. I've seen people say that was a big, middle finger to Rian Johnson because Rian Johnson had Luke throw the lightsaber over his shoulders. Again, this is completely false. Because if you watch The Last Jedi, That was Luke's character arc in the movie. In the movie, Luke at the beginning was, nah, the Jedi gotta die, no more Jedi, no more Jedi. And Luke's character arc in that film was, at the end, I am not going to be the last Jedi. He came back, he fought Kylo Ren. That was Luke's arc. Luke was wrong to dismiss his lightsaber, and Rian Johnson knew that, right? That was the character's arc, and by the end of the film, Luke had found his way. So when Rise of the Skywalker, when he says a Jedi should treat their weapon with more respect, that was not a middle finger to Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson was the one that had Luke come full circle and find his way at the end. That was acknowledging the events of The Last Skywalker, where Luke did have that character arc. Then we have Rey's parentage. Okay. This is probably the closest The Rise of Skywalker comes to backpedaling, because we are told in The Last Jedi that Rey's parents were nobodies. That we're told that. And in this one we find out, no, that's not true. Her parents were the son of Emperor Palpatine. She's Palpatine's granddaughter. So that one comes closest to kind of backpedaling, but even still, it is in continuity. It's a retcon. New information is presented to Kylo Ren, so we know that when Kylo Ren told her that, he believed it. We also know that she believed it, because he said to her in The Last Jedi, you know where your parents are, you know who your parents are. So that one, it comes the closest. But even still, they do manage to fit it into continuity. It's just like Obi-Wan in Return of the Jedi saying, everything I told you was true from a certain point of view. So from a certain point of view, well, it was true her parents were nobodies, but they kind of chose to be that way. So that one, you get a little wiggle room. They did kind of backtrack that one, but they still found a way to retcon it so it fit into the continuity. The Last Jedi is the middle chapter of this trilogy. This trilogy makes no sense without that movie. It's sort of like the linchpin. You can't watch Back to the Future 1 and Back to the Future 3 and skip part 2. You're going to be like, how did Marty get to the Old West? How did that happen? I don't understand. What's going on here? I am confused. Last Jedi is very much the middle chapter. I've heard people say that this trilogy doesn't really work as a trilogy. Again, I don't agree with that. This is a pretty tight little trilogy when you look at it. I think Rise of Skywalker is the weakest of the three, but it's a pretty good little trilogy. Another thing that has been said for years that is just totally false is that Rian Johnson threw out the things J.J. Abrams introduced in The Force Awakens, and that's false too, because everything that J.J. Abrams introduced in The Force Awakens, Rian Johnson just took it and ran with it. He took it to the next level. It was Rian Johnson, it was J.J. Abrams who had Luke run away and hide on that planet, and nobody knew where Luke was. They were looking for a map to find Luke. Luke clearly didn't want to be found because the map wasn't intact. Luke tried to destroy the map. Luke tried to hide this map. It wasn't just like, here's the map. They find the map and pieces are missing. It's like, well, we still don't have a complete map. The rest was in R2. So why wasn't the map complete? Luke clearly didn't want to be found, because why would he have destroyed the map? Why would he have hid the map? Why wouldn't he have just said, this is where I'm going to be. If you need me, come get me. He didn't want to be found. That was J.J. Abrams that introduced that in The Force Awakens. Then we get to The Last Jedi, and she says, come back with me. We got to go. We got to do the First Order. We got to feed. And Luke's like, no, I'm not coming. Of course he's not coming. Well, it was introduced in The Force Awakens that he went and ran away and hid. He doesn't want to be found. If he wanted to be found, he wouldn't have hid the map. He wouldn't have made it so hard to find him. So then people are like, yeah, Rian Johnson ruined Luke. Well, maybe you feel Luke was ruined, but you got to pin that blame on J.J. Abrams, because it was J.J. Abrams who introduced the story that Luke went and hid and didn't want to be found. Rian Johnson just picked up the reins and ran with it. And that's the way this has all gone along. We have JJ introduced some plot threads. Rian Johnson came, picked up the threads, ran with them, introduced his own plot threads. For example, the Force link. And then JJ picked them up and ran with them. And we find out that was because of the dyad in the Force, which, if you ask me, is just technobabble. But they ran with it, and they had the ability to Rey Force transported the lightsaber to Kylo Ren. All of that is building on what we learned in The Last Jedi. So again, you can love the movies or hate the movies, and that's fine. You're welcome to do so. It's subjective. But this notion that Rise of Skywalker rewrites or disregards or makes The Last Jedi not count anymore is just silly. It's not true. But anyway, that was a conversation that I think was long overdue. And Rise of Skywalker will be out on Blu-ray soon. We could put on The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker back-to-back, watch them, see how everything connects. And I look forward to doing so. Keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. I know we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.